What's going on, guys? We've reached our final fragrance from the House of Jovoy, and I think quite highly of it. I don't know if it's still number one to me because I kind of just vaguely did like a very quick take power ranking when I first smelled these, and this one made it to number one. I don't know if now that I'm where I am now and I've re-gone through them and now that I'm familiar with them and I've tried them on skin and seen which ones change and which ones don't, I don't know if this still sits in number one, but we're going to find out today. And nonetheless, it's a great fragrance worth having in your collection. So let's see why. Strap up.
Okay, for two. I watch that head move side to side as I let this in into the room. You were on top, let's connect minds. Trying to get into a mood. We gon' be fine. Close up the blinds, no rush. Finish the food.
All right, welcome to the Scent Bubble. I am your host for the afternoon. Today from the House of Jovoy, we have one of the top fragrances I feel from the collection, and that is Ambre Premier. Judging by the name, you would assume you're going into some sort of an amber fragrance. Spicy, vanillic, maybe? Let's check it out. I haven't visited this set in several months. I went to California. I smelled it before I went to California. Then I went to California. I showed it to my boy Kix. He fell out of his chair smelling it. I went back through it again a little bit. Then I put it back on the shelf when I got back to Arizona. And I said, you know what? I need to go back through this again, put them on skin, see what happens, because I really like this house and I don't want to give out bad information. And in the air, guys, we're in the wheelhouse of Grand Soir, which I know can be polarizing. Some people are not fans of it. The spicy vanilla amber is intimidating. Noticeably in the air, though, what's different about this in Grand Soir is this leans more on a smoother rendition of spices, but a little bit ramped up in spice. The vanilla is a little bit more tucked back. It's a little less caramelly, creamy. It's a little more slightly dusted, but you still get a smooth, almost like if you took powder and you dampened it a little bit, so it's got a little bit of weight to it. It's still there with a heavy texture, but it feels matured because something else happened to it. It is vanillic. I get earthiness, though, in the back, like a smooth, velvety patchouli, almost like a rich vanilla cake that's been toned down by a lot of amber and spice. So it doesn't feel super gourmand. Like if there's entry gourmand, this would be even behind that. Only even in the conversation due to vanilla, but I don't feel like food or baked goods or anything when I smell this fragrance. This is a fragrance. Love the textural components. A lot of you guys sleep on this, and I hope that this changes and develops in your journey over time. Sometimes you smell a fragrance and you might say something like amber, vanilla, spice, not my thing, right? But sometimes if you kind of like those elements, what take them to a different level is their texture. I talk about one-dimensionality, two-dimensionality, three-dimensionality, four-dimensionality. And this is where finesse comes into play with a fragrance. And I think a lot of times when you're smelling something in the air, you're not noticing those nuances, which is what grabs attention when people walk by you. It doesn't just give them a smell. It gives them a weight, a texture, an additional sensory experience. And that's the beauty of perfumery. This is not a typical amber, vanilla, patchouli, and spice. There's a texture to the vanilla style. Not all vanillas are created equal. Some are cheap. Some smell like ice cream. Some are ashy. Some are creamy. Some are powdery. Some are velvety. Some are spicy. Some of them feel heavy. Some of them feel light and airy. Like, think of how much dimension and space you can play with within all of those descriptions, right? So you could take a single note like vanilla and give it so much personality to where it feels like there's a bunch of other notes in it, but it's just the way that it's treated. And then when you start to build up a fragrance like that, now you can have a fragrance that just has patchouli, vanilla, spices, and amber, And just in those 4 notes, you can play with space. The vanilla has all that character. The spice might be providing a spritz or a little bit of masculine aggressiveness, or just popping out the vanilla in a slightly different way. The amber could be warming it up. It could be sweetening it. It could be caramelizing the vanilla style. And then the oak moss. Oak moss is very rich. It has a weight to it. It also feels damp. It also has an earthy, airy quality to it. And so you can very quickly get a very sophisticated fragrance off of 4 notes. I'm sure there's a little bit more going on in here because there's so much. This is a fragrance that is simple in note, complex. They're playing with complexity, not in the note pairing, but in the texture of the fragrance. I get spiced smoothness. I get vanilla dampness, but airiness. I get a velvetyness. I get an airy earthiness. And the sweetness is so perfect for me. It's like a 4 out of 10 sweet, but it's so there. A woman will still receive it as sweetness, but it's not loud and proud sweetness. It is subdued, controlled sweetness where the emphasis is the beauty of how these different textures collaborate, not about driving this sweet forward fragrance that doesn't have a lot of space and character. Let's go ahead and drive here. Let's go down. Top notes, spices and citrus. You really get that here. I don't want to say with citrus, you get all of those. I definitely get on the top this very muffled orange spice, almost in the Chanel Allure Sport realm, but Chanel Allure Sport is very like fresh creamsicle. This is very kind of like, when I tell you like you pour citrus or fruits onto a pan, put oil in them, and they become like a wine reduction. It's still fresh, but it's warm and hot. So the orange rendering here feels very much more like caramelized spice, like it orange when it's been sitting on the stove being mixed with cinnamon and spice and stuff like that. So it's kind of like the opposite approach to Chanel Allure Sport, but it's there. The rose is really nice. It almost creates a powderiness to this fragrance, kind of like how violet leaf would or how iris would, but the rose makes it just a little more romantic. There is a certain, to an untrained nose or to somebody who's being like very quickly judgmental to this fragrance, it almost can feel very cinnamon stick of gum. Not necessarily an emphasis on cinnamon, but just kind of this red, ambery, slightly powdered experience. So I can understand how somebody might write this fragrance off right away. But to me, you have to put it on skin for it to truly come alive, because otherwise it might feel typical. It might feel, and again, if you want to know the wheelhouse of fragrances I think about when I think about this fragrance for different reasons, I think about Day 3's. Gosh, the opening is so special. The opening, you'll fall in love at the opening, but go beyond that because there is some transition. It reminds me of Day 3's Ambre Dominicana. It reminds me of Red Tobacco Intense from Mancera. It reminds me of Prada Luna Rossa Le Parfum. It even reminds me a bit of Dior Homme Intense. That's the tiniest bit. It's using different things to achieve it has the vanilla base, but it's using different top and heart. The other one is iris driven, where this one is like amber and orange, spiced orange feeling. But the orange is not that intense, like almost to the point where you might not even know what's driving the sweet citric character of this fragrance outside of vanilla. It's mostly a vanilla amber, but this top note of spiced orange is so cool it's so signature and it's different to me. And rose, you wouldn't think rose would pair with orange spice, but oh my gosh, guys, when it's soaked in amber and vanilla and patchouli, it's incredible. Guys, amber, vanilla, patchouli is really all you need with a fragrance like this to get the dimension, right? Because you get the dimension of the vanilla, you get the earthy richness, because basically what I'm saying is vanilla and patchouli can already come with a lot of textural and character qualities. Amber always is something that it's kind of like the salt and pepper of a note. It comes against something and then it caramelizes, it sweetens, it resins, almost balsamics, depending on how sweet the fragrance is. And so there's a lot going on in that base. But truly, the rose, orange, and spice, you guys wonder why I'm saying orange. It says citrus is here, but I get a very wine reduction-y spiced orange that feels like a warmer, more balsamic take on what the orange is doing in like a Chanel L'Homme Sport. So that's why I keep saying orange. What all that is doing, because 60% of this fragrance is amber, vanilla, patchouli. Let's not get it messed up. But what the rose, orange, and this isn't typical rose. You will not smell this and make out rose unless you see it. Okay, so let me just say that. This is not a rose fragrance by any stretch of the imagination. But what that rose and orange and spice is doing to this fragrance, guys, is majestic and mesmerizing. You will want to put 10 sprays of this on minimum, even though it seems like a very performing fragrance. Yeah, so long lasting, you guys can see right here. Strong, not insanely strong, more moderate sillage and projection, which I would agree. I feel like with a fragrance like this, you will get about 4 feet of projection, but this is a sillage scent trail type of scent that lasts forever. When this dries down to a skin scent after like 8 hours, this is the fragrance you would probably skip the shower and go straight to bed with it all over you, knowing you had a great night. It's seductive, but I think it's perfectly masculine because, and not in terms of unisexness, because I think it is. Oh, wow. Ambre. Wow. Take a look at this, guys. For women. Wow. See, I'm not even mad at that because I was literally just about to go into a bit about how a woman could totally wear this. And it just, she would be sexy, man. No questions asked. But guys, please let me talk into the camera here. I did not know it's marketed to women only. Huge mistake on their part. Men, listen to me. This is something they messed up on. They should have put unisex, and to take it a step further, if you didn't tell me it was for women, I would have thought it was for men. In this way, gosh, I have to own this fragrance. I've been wrestling with it because I have Grand Soir and I have Ambar Dominicana. You know, I have things like L'Homme Ideal Extreme. I have these very ambery fragrances that I love. But this is just different. Okay, let me clarify this whole unisex conversation because I know that this subject can throw people off. This is perfectly unisex, but perfectly unisex, I got to go deeper. So it's perfectly unisex. However, on a man, like I said, if you never told me this was for women, I would think it's a men's fragrance. There's so much nice, earthy undercarriage in amber. You know, patchouli and amber. Think about this. The vanilla is not too loud. It's like a 5 out of 10, maybe even a 6. But on the dry down, I think it comfortably sits at least at a 5. So it's there, but it's not crazy. And most men's fragrances in this category are super vanillic. So I know, you know, take that with a grain of salt. So on a man, I wouldn't even think it was a women's fragrance. But when I get close to it and I see all the qualities of it, if a woman wore it, and I would think it was a women's fragrance. It can shape shift. It's not a fragrance where the notes per se make it masculine or feminine. It's a fragrance where the vibe, the feeling, the romance of it goes both ways. And the man would totally make this. Put it like this. Dior Homme Intense, right? If you don't like Dior Homme Intense at all, the reason you don't like it is because 1, you don't like Iris, or 2, you don't like, it smells like cosmetics and lipstick and stuff like that. And you're like, I don't want to smell like a woman. Okay, throw it on the shelf. But it is a sexy masculine fragrance. And when men wear it, women do not think, why is he wearing that fragrance? It assumes its role and transforms. But even a woman could rock it, right? Because it naturally has what we would call, for lack of better words, feminine touches. If you wear Dior Homme Intense, no question you could wear this, because this is nowhere near as sweet as Dior Homme Intense. It actually feels like 1 or 2 levels quieter in the sweetness. It's more about the amber than it is the vanilla, but the vanilla is still very much there. It is a bit balsamic-y from rose, but it's got the texture quality of Dior Homme Intense kind of scaled back, like texturally somewhere in between Dior Homme Parfum and Dior Homme Intense as far as a texture and composition. But as far as the notes, it takes me in the realm of Ambre Dominicano, tiniest bit of Red Tobacco Intense, Prada Luna Rosa Le Parfum. Is there anything else in my collection that takes me there? L'Homme Ideal Extreme, just the tiniest bit, even though that's like a cherry almond champagne. It still reminds me of that elegance. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I have to do it. Let me pull it up here.
Perfect.
Okay, let me say this, and then I'll give you some usual suspects, and we'll sign off, guys. Okay, so it's a 10 for me. I think at first sniff on the test strip, you might say scent bubble. It's a really good fragrance, maybe an 8 or a 9, but you're smoking calling this a 10. If you just sit in the room with this fragrance for a half an hour, it will convince you it's a 10. You smell this fragrance, you go, Grand Soir, Le Parfum, Ambre Dominicana, you know what I'm saying? It even has a somewhat of a Coromandel-ness to it, or a Le Lion. You might think you have this fragrance figured out, but when it sits, it transitions. And when you get past the immediately recognizable vanilla, spice, and patchouli and amber, you'll forget about the smell for a second and evaluate it on a textural level. The weight of the fragrance, the brush end of the spice, the slight bit of earthiness under it from patchouli. Like, all of this is telling a sexy story, which creates a feeling when somebody comes to you and interacts with you. They're not just going to say, oh, vanilla patchouli. They're going to get hit with magic. And that magic is what's going on texturally in this fragrance. It's going to be a sleeper. Insanely signature. Guys, listen to me, man. If you want a date night fragrance, or you want to get a date from a fragrance, put this on. Put this on. I don't know of much else sexier than this in my collection. Even though I have a lot of sexy scents, they can all meet this somewhere. You know what I'm saying? One day I'll do a power ranking on my most romantic fragrances money can buy. But guys, this is romance with a cat call. Like, this isn't just, oh my, you're going to throw any girl in a frenzy wearing this. Trust me, guys. Trust me. She's going to walk by you and want to be with you. She's going to make every excuse in the world to say something next to you so you can talk more. She's going to... There's so much play and dance in the romance of this fragrance because of what's going on texturally. Every time she comes by you, she's going to smell a different part of this fragrance. It really opens up into something very special in its simplicity. So good, guys. When it dries down to skin scent, you will go to bed in it. If she stays over for the night, don't shower. She's going to want to wake up smelling this. She's going to want to go in her car smelling like this. Ladies, don't worry. This is marketed to women. So, I mean, I don't really got to convince you to buy this. You have to have something like this in your collection. Please, I beg of you. It seems slightly cold weather leaning. As long as you have a breeze, though, you'll make an excuse for any season, any reason. As long as your date is indoors, you know, you're not going to go mini golf in Arizona in the afternoon or at night wearing this fragrance. The heat will kind of wreck a fragrance like this. Let's call this cold weather leaning, indoors. But if it's not that cold, but you have a breeze, make the excuse and put it on. This is romance in a bottle. I can't really call this a casual scent. Maybe for a woman, it could be upscale casual if you live in colder weather. But if you're on the West Coast and it's north of 75 with the sun out, ladies, I would steer clear. You know, if you're in a cold place or a place that aerates with a breeze, totally put this on. But I think it's an indoor fragrance, a night fragrance, a breezy air type of fragrance. A restaurant fragrance, a theater fragrance. Could you go to the club in this? I don't think it's a clubbing fragrance. There's too much elegance to it. And when you're in a club, there's a lot of hot, funky air rubbing up on a fragrance like this that just wouldn't let it sing. You know, you need a room with some space in it to let it sing and dance and give that sillage magic. It's so elegant, man. 10 out of 10. Sprays on this. Let me look at the performance real quick and then we'll call it a day. We already did. So yeah, it's a sillage type of fragrance. It is very long lasting. I think you're going to get north of 8 hours with this easy. I would say 8 to 10 comfortably. It was rated a 4 out of 5, but it only has 552 votes. So just a lot of people don't know about the fragrance, but you guys know what I say. If it's 4 out of 5, then anybody that likes this type of fragrance will absolutely fall on their face in love with it. If it's a 4.1 or higher, it starts to creep more into mass appeal territory. But I'm convinced in my fragrance journey that the reason it doesn't have a higher score is because more people haven't put their nose to it. In my fragrance journey, I know hundreds of people in fragrance, and I can say probably only 20 of them have even mentioned the name Jovoy. And I think Jovoy constantly gets marketing from content creators towards fragrances like Psychedelic and Remember Me and Fire at Will. You don't hear about this one much. But I was very shocked that in my journey in power ranking fragrances from this house, all of my favorites were ones I've not heard many people mention online. So very transportive, very lovely house. Ambre Premier from Jovoy Paris. And it was a 10 out of 10 for me, guys. This is like, if you like any of the reference fragrances I mentioned before, this is better. I love Grand Soir. Oh, my light came off. So that means it's time to go. I love Grand Soir, but this is way better. I never thought I would say that in a million years. Way more elegance, way more texture, more of a comfortable level of vanilla in it, better character to the vanilla. Yeah, it's about a notch or two higher than Grand Soir for me. And Grand Soir, to me, I know some of you guys, it's love or hate, but it's a 10 out of 10 for me. So I should give this like a 12 out of 10 rating just based off that comparison. But it's an elite spicy vanilla amber, guys. Elite. Probably best one I've smelled so far in that category. Like, comment, and subscribe. More importantly, turn on that notification bell. We drop content all the time. You know that if you've even kind of come by my channel and just glanced at my homepage, you guys know I'm crazy active. So I care about it. I'm passionate. I hope this brought you guys value. I do think this is blind buy worthy unless you hate vanilla or amber or spices. This is dumb blind buy worthy, highly signature. No one's going to smell like you. Romance killer. This is sexiness in a bottle for both men and women. This is a fragrance. You buy this, your wife's stealing it from you. You're stealing it back. This is a fragrance, you know, your friends are stealing it from you, asking you for a travel spray. If you bought it and didn't like it, you got 100 people in line trying to buy it off you. It's just magic in a bottle, guys. Everything I'm looking for in a fragrance. Guys, amber, vanilla, patchouli, spices, orange, like a subdued orange, a little bit of rose. Like, what? Yo, incredible. Absolutely incredible. Well, we already did all that good stuff. Have a blessed week, guys. You can tell I'm getting tired. Peace.